Good Sunday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Alexa Trischler with WWL Louisiana in New Orleans, here to bring you the latest on what's going on in the tropics with Hurricane Beryl, our first major hurricane of the season. Check this out on visible satellite. I mean, that is a classic look. Category 3 major hurricane. Clearly, you can see that well-defined center, that eye right there. It is a compact, kind of small hurricane, but it is powerful. It is packing a punch. Classic major hurricane structure. So we've got Hurricane Beryl producing wind speeds now at 120 miles per hour. This is the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. Wind gusts 150 miles per hour, so it has strengthened a little bit since the 7 a.m. update. So in just a couple of hours, it has already intensified a little bit. Still a Category 3 strength, but it is expected to continue to strengthen going into later today. So a lot to talk about with Hurricane Beryl. It is moving west at 21 miles per hour, so it is moving along pretty quickly with a pressure at 964 millibars. So let's walk you through what's going on with Hurricane Beryl. It is 470 miles east of Grenada, so it is closing in on the Lesser Antilles. So if you have any friends or family in the southern Windward Islands, really all of the Lesser Antilles, make sure they know that this is headed for them later today and specifically early tomorrow. So Monday, they'll be feeling the impacts of Hurricane Beryl in the Lesser Antilles in the southern Windward Islands. Also of note, once it continues to move to the west today, it could strengthen to a Category 4 by later on our Sunday. So when it reaches the southern Windward Islands, the Lesser Antilles, early tomorrow, it could be a Category 4 strength hurricane. So they're going to see major impacts in the eastern Caribbean tomorrow. Surge, heavy rain, strong winds, potential flooding. So this is going to be a big deal for the Lesser Antilles, the eastern Caribbean. Hurricane Beryl is going to bring them some serious impacts going into later today, but really through tomorrow. Then it will continue to move west-northwest through the Caribbean, maintaining its strength likely as a Category 4 through Tuesday, and then into Wednesday and Thursday. So later in the week, it is expected to weaken, which is really positive news. So as it pushes westward closer to Jamaica and gets closer to the Yucatan by Friday, it is expected to weaken down to maybe a Category 2 or Category 1. All good signs. Now, the reason why it is set to weaken is because there is supposed to be some more intense and stronger wind shear setting up in the Western Caribbean by the middle and second half of this week. And with that increased wind shear, that should help weaken Beryl as it moves west through the Caribbean this week. So that is something definitely good to highlight, that it is expected to weaken. Another thing we've been talking about is this upper ridge of high pressure that's building in over the Gulf South. That's going to keep the Gulf South really hot and kind of on the drier side this week, but it will also be a steering current for Beryl. It'll help drive it more to the west. So as long as this high pressure kind of stays in place and doesn't shift off to the east and doesn't stagger too much and kind of waver, as long as it remains strong and in its position, it should help kind of push Beryl off to the west and into the southwestern Gulf by next weekend. But again, this is a pattern that we're going to kind of pay attention to closely to see how it changes, because these steering currents are really the things that drive where these tropical systems go. So if it does kind of waver up a bit and change up a bit, that is something we really have to kind of focus on to see where this will send Beryl. But so far, the signs are good that this upper ridge will help guide Beryl to the west and more into the Yucatan and the southwestern Gulf of Mexico by next weekend. But still a long time to watch this. This is going to be a long-term area to watch, especially if you live along the Gulf Coast, something you're really going to have to pay attention to every single day. So looking ahead at the ensemble models or the spaghetti plots, also in pretty good agreement that this is going to take that west-northwest track through the Caribbean and push it into the Yucatan Peninsula, into the Bay of Campeche or the southwestern Gulf by next Saturday. But still beyond Saturday, getting into later next weekend, so 1 week from now, models, of course, as you would expect, kind of diverge on where it will go. So this is why it's really crucial and important to pay attention to the latest forecasts with Beryl, because it can still change quite a bit. So something to keep in mind, but really the biggest takeaway is that the Lesser Antilles, the Windward Islands, will be seeing big impacts from this late today through tomorrow, and then some impacts will be spreading across the Caribbean over the next several days. So we'll be watching that closely here at home. Along the Gulf South, there are no tropical concerns here in the New Orleans area over the next week. So I just wanted to put that out there. Nothing to worry about just yet in the tropics for us over the next 7 days from now through next Sunday, but still something to kind of monitor with Beryl in its kind of forecast path to see where it will end up 1 week from now. Elsewhere out in the tropics, it is very busy. We've got Invest 96 right behind Beryl, so another tropical wave that is showing good signs of development as a high chance becoming maybe our next storm. So we've got Invest 96, we've got Beryl, we've got Invest 94 still in the southwestern Gulf, expected to move into Mexico by tomorrow. So we do have a lot going on, really the biggest thing being Beryl, which is expected to strengthen to a Category 4 today before it reaches the Windward Islands, the Eastern Caribbean, by tomorrow. So the area that we're watching right behind Beryl, so that's Beryl, and that's the area behind Beryl that we're watching, that next tropical wave, that could become our next storm. So potentially looking at Chris, which is the next name on the list, impacting the Lesser Antilles. So they're going to get slammed twice, it looks like, if this forecast plays out. So unfortunately, the southern Windward Islands, rather, the southern Lesser Antilles, will be seeing some big impacts over the next week, not only from Beryl, but maybe from Chris, or at least close to a tropical storm strength. Looks like maybe could be a tropical storm or our next hurricane by the middle of the week for the Eastern Caribbean. So busy out in the tropics. We'll have a close eye on where Beryl goes. This is just one model run. These change up a lot, but here is next Thursday. You can kind of see where Beryl is in the Western Caribbean, and possibly Chris, or at least another tropical system will be tracking, is going to be in the Eastern Caribbean by later this week. So a lot to bring you in the next updates, a lot going on in the tropics for sure. Here are the names for the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. We already did Alberto. We've got Beryl happening now, and possibly Chris right behind Beryl. So make sure you are checking back for the latest forecast. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back with the latest update from the National Hurricane Center in the afternoon hours. So thanks for tuning in. I'm meteorologist Alexa Trischler.